So we have a raccoon hide we're going to pickle tan and hopefully make a hat. When I skinned this one, I took the extra time to skin it all the way around the skull, so hopefully we can preserve the face as well. We're going to start with a 5-gallon bucket with some water, and then we're going to add 1 cup of alum and 1 cup of non-iodized salt per 2 gallons of water. Alright, this has been thoroughly rinsed, and we took off a lot of the fat already. And what we do is mix that in our solution. We'll let it sit in here after we make sure that all the surfaces are touched with the solution. We'll let it sit in here for about 3 days. We're going to be mixing it twice a day, every 12 hours, to make sure that every bit of that fur gets coated in this salt solution. And then after 3 days, we will take it out and remove any of the extra fat and tissue that we missed before we put it in, and we'll soak it for 7 more days. It's been 3 days, and we've been stirring this twice a day in our salt tanning solution. We took it out, and now what we're going to do is remove some of this extra flesh that we were unable to get off before we put it into our solution. You can grab it and pull it with your thumbs. You can use a spoon, something like that, but what we want is all this extra pieces, these pieces that are just hanging on here. If you can get that off, then we'll throw it back into the solution. See how that's separated now, and it's just hide. There's no extra stuff on it. It'll help the solution penetrate into the skin more complete. Got most of the material off of the hide here, all the way to the edges. It's having issues with the face. That's what it all looked like, and now I'm just using my knife to trim that. I don't like to use my knife because if you go too deep, then you will go right through your hide. Alright, so the tail I left intact originally, and it's been 3 days. I tried to get as much of the pickling solution into the tail tube as possible, and it still had a little bit of a smell coming from it today, so I decided to go ahead and cut that open. I cut it down on the bottom side of that. That way I can scrape any of that tissue out, and then when we're all done, we'll just go ahead and sew that up. I was hoping to skip over that part with keeping it intact instead of cutting it open, but I don't think that it would tan correctly. So you keep the original solution that you started with your hide, and then you're going to add another cup of salt, 1 cup of alum, and we'll stir that up. So for the next week, we'll leave our hide in here, soaking in a doubly concentrated solution, and we'll continue to mix that up twice a day. Okay, now we've got our coon that's been sitting. We had stirred it twice a day. It's been in here for a total of 9 days now. Now what we're going to do is rinse off all the solution, and then we're going to shampoo it, and then we're going to rinse out the shampoo. so we just had our hide hung up on a string here. We opened everything up so it has room to breathe, and as that dries out, then we're going to stretch it. During the stretching process, the fibers on the inside of the skin will actually change color when you break the hide. Alright, so the edges are starting to dry faster, and as you pull, you can see that that actually gets a lighter color to it. It's turning white as you pull it. That's breaking the hide. So we're going to do that in all directions, all the way around the hide. Alright, so most of this hide turned out pretty good, and we were able to break the hide just by stretching like the earlier video showed, but there are some dark spots here that are still in there. If you can't stretch it, roll it over on itself, different directions. There's still a little bit of moisture back here in this section here, so that's why it's still a little dark, and the tail is still a little dark. I also have this cable that I've hooked up on a pole, and with this you can take your hide and stretch this over. It's a good way to break the hide there. You can see a lot of these tissue is kind of pilled up since I've been working it, so that can all be removed. But the more you work with it, the softer it's going to be. See, that took a lot of the color right out of that section there. So then the fun part begins. What are we going to make with this? Obviously, a hat. Now you have a unique, handmade Homestead masterpiece. Oh boy, I got you. I got you. Fudge me sideways.